Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something real today. At some point in your life, you're going to hit a moment where comfort is no longer your friend. You'll look at your reflection and realize that staying the same is costing you more than changing ever will. Improvement is not something that just happens. You don't wake up one morning suddenly better, stronger, wiser, or more focused. You have to force yourself into growth. You have to push yourself into that uncomfortable space where you discover what you're truly made of. Most people wait for motivation, but motivation is seasonal. It comes and goes like the weather. Discipline, self-pressure. That is what transforms your entire life. Improvement requires self-pressure, not motivation, because motivation is one of the most unreliable forces you can depend on. It comes in bursts. Some days you feel inspired, other days you feel completely drained. If you build your entire future on something that's inconsistent, you'll keep stopping and starting, never gaining real progress. Self-pressure, on the other hand, is the quiet voice inside you that says, get up and do it anyway. It's the understanding that your goals don't care about your mood. Your dreams don't wait for you to feel ready, and your life won't change until you take consistent action. When you hold yourself accountable, you take control of your growth instead of waiting for the perfect emotional moment to begin. Discipline is the tool that separates wishful thinking from true transformation. Every successful person you admire has mastered the power of forcing themselves to take action even when they don't feel like it. This doesn't mean they are stronger than you. It means they have trained themselves not to be controlled by temporary emotions. They understand that improvement isn't supposed to be easy. It's supposed to stretch you, push you, and challenge the limits of your comfort zone. When you rely on motivation, you only improve on the days you feel good. But when you rely on discipline, you improve on the days that matter the most. The days when you want to quit, the days when your mind is full of excuses, and the days when progress feels slow. Those are the moments that shape your future. Self-pressure means creating standards for yourself that don't bend just because life gets tough. It's telling yourself, I said I would do this, so I'm doing it. When you build this habit, you stop negotiating with your excuses. You no longer allow laziness, fear, or doubt to dictate your actions. You start to see improvement not as something optional, but as something necessary. And it's in that shift that real growth begins. You begin waking up earlier because your goals mean more to you than extra sleep. You practice a skill longer because you want mastery, not just mediocrity. You say no to distraction because you understand that your future demands focus. Self-pressure becomes a form of self-respect. Think about how many people wait for motivation to strike before they move. They wait for the right day, the right feeling, or the right circumstance. But the truth is, if you wait for motivation, you'll wait forever. Life would always give you a reason to delay your growth. You'll always feel tired, busy, or overwhelmed from time to time. And that's why discipline is the backbone of improvement. It allows you to act even when conditions aren't perfect. It makes you stronger because it forces you to push through resistance. Every time you do something you didn't want to do, you build mental toughness. That toughness is the foundation of everything you accomplish. Self-pressure also helps you develop consistency, which is the real engine of improvement. You can't become better by working hard once. Growth happens through small, repeated actions done over long periods of time. A person who trains a little every day will always outperform someone who trains intensely only when they feel motivated. Consistency beats intensity because it builds momentum. Once you start pushing yourself daily, you begin to trust yourself more. You see progress not because you got lucky, but because you kept going. That creates confidence, real confidence, the kind that comes from proving to yourself that you can do hard things. There will be days when forcing yourself feels exhausting. There will be moments when progress feels invisible. But those moments are exactly when discipline matters most. Improvement isn't about perfection. It's about never giving up on the commitment you made to yourself. When you rely on discipline instead of motivation, you take control of your destiny. Your life begins to reflect your effort, not your emotions. And that is how true lasting growth is created. Change begins the moment you stop waiting and start acting on your decisions, because waiting is the silent thief of destiny. Most people spend years telling themselves that they will improve, or one day, but one day never shows up. They keep planning, thinking, hoping, and wishing. None of those things create movement. Nothing in your life changes until you take that first uncomfortable step toward the direction you say you want to go. You can dream all you want, but dreams without action eventually turn into regrets. Change is not a moment that arrives on its own. It is a moment you create through a choice followed by action. When you stop waiting for the right time and start doing the work right now, you take back power over your life. People delay change for many reasons. Sometimes they're scared of failing, sometimes they're waiting for better circumstances, and sometimes they're simply hoping that life will magically improve on its own. But no matter the reason, waiting keeps you stuck in the same place. It freezes your potential. You begin to convince yourself that you need more information, more confidence, more strength, or more time before you begin. The truth is, you don't need more time, you need courage. Every transformation starts with the courage to begin before you feel ready. Readiness is not something that appears first. It is something you develop after you start. Once you realize this, you stop wasting years preparing for moments that only exist after action is taken. Action clarifies everything. The moment you start moving, you begin to learn what works, what doesn't, what needs to change, and what needs to continue. Waiting gives you nothing but imagined fears and imagined limits. When you act, even imperfectly, you gain momentum. That momentum becomes fuel. You begin to see small improvements. Your skills sharpen, your confidence grows, your vision becomes clearer, and your belief in yourself strengthens. This is why action is the doorway to change. You cannot think your way into a new life. You must work your way into a new life. Every step you take, no matter how small, pushes you closer to the future you want. Many people think change requires grand, dramatic steps, but most change begins quietly. It starts with small actions done consistently. Waking up a little earlier, studying a little longer, practicing a little more, saving a little money, speaking a little kinder, working a little harder. Small steps add up. The moment you take these steps, you send a message to yourself. I am not waiting anymore. I am moving forward. That message shifts your identity. You start seeing yourself as someone who wishes and start seeing yourself as someone who executes. That identity shift is powerful. It becomes the foundation for lifelong growth. The biggest trap people fall into is believing that life will automatically get better with time. But time doesn't change you. You change you. Time doesn't fix your habits, your discipline, your mindset, or your weaknesses. Only action does. The longer you wait, the harder it becomes, because waiting builds patterns of avoidance. But once you break that pattern by taking even one decisive step, everything begins to shift. Your mind realizes that progress is possible. It becomes easier to take the next step, and then the next, until movement becomes your new normal. There is also something incredibly liberating about choosing to act. You stop feeling helpless or stuck because you recognize that you have the power to shape your circumstances. You stop blaming luck, timing, other people, or situations. You accept responsibility, and with responsibility comes empowerment. When you act, your life becomes something you participate in, not something you watch pass by. You stop being a spectator. You become the driver. Change will never feel convenient. It will never arrive at a perfect moment, but the second you break the habit of waiting, your life begins to open in ways you couldn't imagine. Opportunities appear not because they suddenly existed, but because you finally moved toward them. Growth begins not because the world changed, but because you changed. And it all starts with that single decision and stop waiting. Start acting. Strength and resilience develop when you push yourself beyond comfort, because real growth doesn't happen in the places where everything feels easy, predictable, and familiar. Comfort may feel safe, but it's also the place where dreams quietly die. When you stay in your comfort zone, you repeat the same patterns, take the same actions, and live the same results. Nothing new ever grows there. Strength is built in the moments when life challenges you, when you feel uncertain, when you're stretched to your limits, and when you're forced to confront the parts of yourself you usually avoid. Resilience is created through struggle, through facing difficulties, not running from them. Every time you step into discomfort, you train your mind to handle more, endure more, and rise above more. Most people think strength comes naturally to confident people, but the truth is the strongest individuals you know have walked through storms that tested them, pushed them, and sometimes broke them. They became strong because they embraced discomfort, not because they avoided it. When you push yourself past what's easy, you begin to understand your own capacity. You realize that you're capable of far more than you thought. You learn how to manage fear, uncertainty, and pressure. And in that process, you discover that you don't have to wait for strength. You can build it. Life has a way of revealing your true character when things get hard. Anyone can be calm when everything is going smoothly. Anyone can be confident when there's no pressure. But your real power is revealed in the moments when things don't go as planned. When you push yourself to keep going despite challenges, something powerful happens inside you. You start seeing obstacles as signs to quit and start seeing them as opportunities to evolve. You begin to view problems as lessons. You approach setbacks with patience instead of frustration. You fight harder because you understand that growth is hiding behind every difficulty. Discomfort is not your enemy. It's the gym for your mind and spirit. Just like muscles grow through tension and resistance, your inner strength grows through facing things you'd rather avoid. When you choose the uncomfortable path, waking up earlier, studying longer, practicing harder, saying no to distractions, you sharpen the parts of yourself that comfort would keep dull. You build mental muscles that help you withstand setbacks, disappointments, and failures. The more you challenge yourself, the more resilient you become. Resilience is not just the ability to bounce back. It's the ability to keep moving forward even when you're tired, unsure, or scared. Think about the times in your life when you grew the most. It wasn't during easy moments. It was during the times you were pushed. Maybe you faced a hard decision, a painful experience, or a situation that demanded more effort than you felt you had. Yet you survived it. You learned something from it. It shaped you into a stronger version of yourself. That is proof that discomfort is not meant to break you. It's meant to build you. Every moment of pressure you endure becomes part of your foundation. It teaches you perseverance. It strengthens your emotional endurance. It gives you wisdom that comfort can never offer. When you start pushing yourself consistently, your confidence expands. You stop fearing challenges because you faced them before and survived. You trust yourself more because you've proven that you can handle pressure. That trust is the root of true confidence. Not empty positivity, but evidence earned through effort. You begin to see challenges as stepping stones rather than barriers. You develop patience because you understand that progress requires time. You develop courage because you've learned how to act even when you're afraid. Resilience also makes your goals more achievable. When you're resilient, setbacks don't throw you off course. Failures don't discourage you. Delays don't make you quit. You stay committed even when progress feels slow. You keep moving even when the path feels unclear. That consistency is what ultimately leads you to success. Strength and resilience give you the endurance required to finish what you start. And that is why pushing yourself beyond comfort is one of the most powerful decisions you can make for your future. Accountability to your future self is essential for long-term success because every decision you make today becomes the foundation of the life you will live tomorrow. Most people think about their present emotions, their current comfort, or the pressure they feel right now, but they rarely think about what their choices will mean 5 or 10 years later. When you hold yourself accountable to your future self, you stop making decisions based on convenience and start making them based on who you want to become. You begin to ask different questions. Not what feels good now, but what will benefit me later. Not what's easiest today, but what will make me proud tomorrow. Accountability shifts your mindset from short-term comfort to long-term greatness. Your future self is dependent on you. The version of you who wants success, confidence, stability, health, and freedom cannot appear magically. That person is built through the actions you take right now, every habit, every choice, every sacrifice. When you skip your goals for comfort, you're not cheating anyone but your future self. When you procrastinate, when you avoid challenges, when you settle for less than your potential, you're delaying a life you keep dreaming about. But when you take responsibility and decide to honor the person you want to become, you start building momentum. You start strengthening your character. You start proving to yourself that your dreams matter. Accountability means telling yourself the truth, even when it's uncomfortable. It means admitting when you're not giving your best. It means recognizing when you're letting excuses control you. Most people avoid this level of honesty because it forces them to face their weaknesses. But accountability isn't about punishment. It's about clarity. It's about seeing where you are, acknowledging where you want to go, and being brutally honest about what needs to change. Without that honesty, growth becomes impossible. With it, growth becomes inevitable. Because the moment you stop lying to yourself is the moment you gain the power to change yourself. Holding yourself accountable also means setting standards that align with the life you want, not the life you currently have. You stop letting your moods dictate your actions. You stop adjusting your goals to match your comfort. Instead, you adjust your behavior to match your goals. You start expecting more from yourself, not because someone else told you to, but because your future deserves it. You treat your dreams with respect. You value your time because you understand it's limited. You make discipline a priority because you know that every small step compounds into something greater. Your future self will always thank you the effort you put in today. Imagine looking back and realizing you committed fully, you pushed yourself, and you didn't quit. That feeling of pride becomes fuel. But imagine the opposite, looking back with regret, wishing you had started earlier, wishing you had tried harder, wishing you had taken yourself seriously. Regret is heavier than discipline. Regret is painful because it reminds you of potential you never used. Accountability protects you from that pain. It ensures that your future self will live with pride, not disappointment. When you stay accountable, you stop blaming circumstances, people, or luck. You understand that you are responsible for where your life goes. This responsibility is empowering, not burdensome. It gives you control. It gives you direction. It helps you see that you can shape your future through your choices. You don't need someone else to push you. You become your own motivation. You become the person who refuses to give up, who refuses to settle, who refuses to waste their potential. Being accountable also strengthens your discipline. When you know your future depends on your present actions, quitting becomes harder. You stay committed even when progress is slow, even when challenges rise, even when the path feels unclear. You don't wait for an external push. You show up for yourself. You put in the work because you understand that consistency builds success. And as you continue honoring your commitments, your self-trust grows. You become someone you can rely on. That self-trust is priceless. Once you have it, your confidence becomes unshakable. Accountability to your future self is not a burden, it is a promise. A promise that you will not abandon your goals. A promise that you will not waste your potential. A promise that you will become the person you were meant to be. And every day you keep that promise. You move closer to the life you dream of living. Forcing yourself to grow leads to greater confidence, opportunities, and personal transformation because growth is the gateway to a version of yourself you haven't met yet. Stronger, wiser, and more capable than the person you are today. When you push yourself to improve, even when it feels uncomfortable or difficult, you begin to unlock parts of your potential that were hidden behind fear, hesitation, or limited thinking. Growth is rarely pleasant in the moment, but it always pays off in the long run. Every time you stretch your limits, you rise above the version of yourself that once held you back. This rise creates a shift inside you, a shift that changes how you see yourself and how you show up in the world. Confidence is not something you magically develop by telling yourself positive things. Confidence is built through evidence. When you force yourself to do things you thought you couldn't do, you create undeniable proof that you are stronger than your excuses. You stop doubting your abilities because your actions show you what you're capable of. Each time you complete a challenge, your belief in yourself grows. This belief transforms into confidence, real confidence, the kind that doesn't disappear when life gets tough. It becomes a steady internal strength that reminds you that you can handle whatever comes next. When you push yourself repeatedly, confidence becomes a natural result of discipline and effort. This newfound confidence also changes the way you carry yourself. You start walking with a different energy, speaking with more certainty, and making decisions from a place of strength rather than fear. People notice this. Opportunities notice this. Confidence has a way of opening doors that insecurity keeps closed. When you believe in yourself, you apply for jobs you once thought were out of reach. You speak up in conversations where you used to stay silent. You take risks that move you forward instead of holding you back. Confidence attracts success because it shows that you value yourself enough to pursue what you deserve. Forcing yourself to grow also brings opportunities because growth increases your value. When you develop new skills, improve your mindset, and sharpen your discipline, you naturally become someone who can contribute more, whether in your career, relationships, personal life, or goals. People who commit to growth stand out. They perform better because they're constantly improving. They solve problems more effectively because they've learned resilience. They adapt to challenges quickly because they built mental strength. Growth makes you more capable, and capability attracts opportunities that wouldn't have shown up for the older, unchallenged version of you. Opportunities don't come to those who wait, they come to those who prepare. When you force yourself to grow, you're preparing yourself for the future you want. You're increasing your potential, widening your possibilities, and expanding your reach. You begin to notice openings that you would have overlooked before. You start to connect with people who are aligned with your growth. Doors that were once closed start opening because you've elevated the level of person you are. Growth turns you into someone who is ready for success. Personal transformation is the final and deepest reward of pushing yourself. This transformation isn't just external, it happens inside you. You start to break old patterns that no longer serve you. You stop repeating behaviors that kept you stuck. You develop discipline, patience, clarity, and intention. You learn how to regulate your emotions, stay committed through discomfort, and choose long-term progress over temporary pleasure. As you grow, your mindset shifts from I can't to I will. That shift alone can change your entire life. A transformation also brings a sense of pride and fulfillment that comfort could never offer. When you see yourself evolving, when you notice how far you've come, when you realize that you're no longer the same person you used to be, you feel empowered. You understand that life isn't happening to you. You are shaping it. This awareness strengthens your identity. You stop living passively and start living intentionally. You stop accepting less and start demanding more from yourself and your environment. The truth is, growth is uncomfortable, but staying the same is painful. When you push yourself, you break the limits that once held you back. You discover abilities you didn't know you had. You begin to see your worth more clearly. You learn to trust yourself deeply, and you step into a version of your life where you are not just surviving, you are thriving. That transformation becomes the proof that forcing yourself to grow was the best decision you ever made. Choosing action over excuses every single day is the key to unlocking your full potential, because excuses are the strongest prison you can build for yourself. They look harmless on the surface, just small reasons, tiny delays, moments of hesitation. But over time, they turn into barriers that keep you trapped in the same life, the same habits, the same limitations. Every excuse you accept steals a piece of your potential. Every excuse you repeat becomes a belief, and beliefs shape your destiny. When you decide to act instead of excuse yourself, you break that cycle. You break the mental chains that have kept you playing small. You reclaim your power by proving to yourself that you are in control of your choices, not your circumstances. Excuses often feel logical. You tell yourself you're tired, you're busy, you don't have time, you'll start tomorrow, you're not ready yet. These excuses don't sound dangerous, but they quietly destroy consistency. Success doesn't come from occasional effort. It comes from daily commitment. And excuses interrupt that commitment. They stop you from building momentum. They convince you that you need perfection before you can start. They make you forget that progress is built through small efforts that stack up over time. When you remove excuses from your life, you remove the biggest obstacle to your own growth. Action, on the other hand, creates motion. Even if the action is small, it breaks the pattern of delay. It forces your brain to shift from thinking to doing. The more you do, the easier it becomes to keep doing. You build a habit of movement instead of a habit of avoidance. And once movement becomes your default, success becomes inevitable. Action strengthens discipline because it teaches you to follow through. It teaches you to show up whether you feel like it or not. And discipline is what carries you forward on the days when motivation disappears. When you consistently choose action, you start to respect yourself more. You build trust in your own ability to follow through. That trust is powerful because it becomes the foundation of your confidence. Most people struggle with confidence not because they lack talent, but because they don't keep promises they make to themselves. Every time you choose action over excuses, you keep a promise. You strengthen your self-belief. You show yourself that you can rely on your own decisions. That kind of self-respect becomes fuel for even greater action. Another important truth is that excuses don't just delay your goals, they influence the type of person you become. If you make excuses often, you become someone who gives up easily, someone who settles, someone who avoids effort because comfort feels safer. But when you choose action every day, you become someone who pushes through challenges, who stays committed, who grows stronger with every obstacle. This identity shift is one of the most powerful transformations you can experience. You begin to see yourself as capable, dependable, and relentless. And once you see yourself that way, nothing can stop you. Opportunities also respond to action. Life rewards those who move, not those who wait. When you take action, you create chances you never would have seen otherwise. You open doors that excuses would have kept closed. You meet people, learn skills, gain experiences, and build momentum that excuses could never give you. Excuses keep your world small, action expands it. Excuses keep you stuck. Action moves you towards your goals. Action brings possibilities into your life, while excuses drain them away. The truth is, you will never feel ready all the time. You will never have perfect conditions, perfect energy, or perfect clarity. But you don't need perfection. You need consistency. And consistency is built from choosing action again and again, even when it's hard, even when you're tired, even when progress feels slow. The small daily choices matter more than the big occasional bursts of effort. Every day you act, you plant a seed. Over time, those seeds grow into habits, habits grow into character, and character shapes your entire future. When you train yourself to choose action over excuses, life becomes less about wishing and more about achieving. You stop waiting for change and start creating it. You stop talking about what you want and start building it. You stop saying someday and start saying today. That is how people transform their lives. Not through luck, not through shortcuts, but through the simple, powerful decision to act when excuses feel easier. That decision, repeated daily, becomes the force that unlocks your potential and leads you to the life you were meant to live.